Good evening again. I would like to call to order the Roscoe Village Board meeting. It's Wednesday, August 7th. Stand for the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple of minutes. Not roll call. Right,
Here.
Eddie, here, Malcolm,
Here.
Clark,
Here.
Simon,
Here.
yeah.
Here.
Item number 1, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 2nd?
Becca,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Item number 2, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 16th?
So moved. Second.
Right,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Becca.
Yes.
Public comment. Are there any members of the public here who wish to say something? Anything from people in the audience? Under President's report, I'd like you to all recognize our county board representative, Mr. Cabarra. Dropped in today to say hi, see what we do. So thank you for coming. Also, under my report, I want to thank Steve Simon for providing some information about a new organization known as the Roscoe Garden Club. And we've been in contact with this Roscoe Garden Club, and we're going to steal an idea from Ann Ensign, who found something very interesting that belonged to Palatine, where the community recognizes those citizens who go out of their way to establish primitive and extraordinary gardens on their property. So maybe we can make this all come together. So we're going to have a conversation and well, back to you. We'll have the garden club, perhaps I'll ask them if they will be the people to get out the word and get the applicants and sort through them, make a choice. And then what we can do is perhaps in the budget for next year, set aside a few dollars where we can give the winner a gift certificate to a local vendor who deals with garden supplies. And we can furnish a yard sign. If you remember, Rockwood used to have one of the month or whatever. And we can do something like that and encourage people, bring others on board to develop gardens. So, coming attractions. Treasurer's report. If we take a look at the cash report, you'll notice that the total of expenditures for tonight is $149,002.51. Total payroll, $103,563.52, making total expenditures equal to $252,566.03. And looking further through the cash report, after expenditures, the amount in our pool checking $8,073,600. $621.39. Going down to the bottom of the cash report, you see the balance in the motor fuel fund of $1,486,910.85. So tonight they're being asked to approve expenditures of $252,566.03. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Questions, comments? Hearing none.
Simon,
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right, going on to the consent agenda. Item number 4. May I have a motion to approve the issuance of the special event permit for the Roswell Lions Club Fall Festival to occur on September 6th, 7th, and 8th. Once again, Chairman Joe Shirelli and his chief strategist, Karen Elliott, have agreed to be our announcers at the parade. And we will have a final meeting. Gladys Hibbard has this organized like clockwork. And we're going to be asking if some of you might be of some assistance. Generally, the work or the volunteers that are needed would be a couple of people who could be in the parking lot of the Y to make sure that individuals who are in the parade get to the spot that they're supposed to get to, as well as we're on Bridge Street. So if you're interested in something you can do, know and share what else. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Petty. Yes. Block,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Next item. May I have a motion to approve the issuance of a special event permit for State Line Disc Golf Association, presented by Nick Summer of Country Financial, to be held at Porter Park on September 28th.
So moved. Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Item number 7. May I have a motion to approve the issuance of the Class T liquor license to Rival Ventures doing business as Poison Ivy for the Lions Club Fall Festival at Leland on September 6th, 7th, and 8th.
So moved. Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Item number 8, we have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-08, authorizing the increase in the number of Class F licenses.
So moved. Second. Can I ask a question? For this liquor commission part, can we take it all at once or do we have to do them? Just for future?
I make a motion to file. It's a motion.
If there's not an issue and they come through.
But how do you get them in the minutes? Still have to
I mean, you
read,
still
still have to read.
the titles, right?
Yeah, you
Same
still have
as
to
a
read the
consent-
title.
Essentially, you treat it as a consent agenda. You make a motion to approve each little title.
Just for
Read out
future.
each item.
So, all right, what I'll do after we vote on this one is just read them all individually and ask for a motion and a second for them as a group. Okay. So we have the motion and the second for ordinance 2024-08, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Taking 9, 10, and 11 as a group, a motion to approve the issuance of Class F liquor license to Whiskey Hotel Barbecue located at 5522. Approval of ordinance 2024-09 to increase the number of authorized Class A licenses. And last, approval of the issuance of said Class A license to Mary's Market at 4866 Blue Stem Road.
So moved. Second.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Next, may we have a motion to approve resolution 2024 R35, authorizing the purchase of materials for concrete work and railing installation at the Roscoe Rockden Junior Indians Riverside Park Concession Building for an amount not to exceed $15,000. We skipped. I didn't see. 11. Well, we said number different than.
12.
I'm not,
Oh, I didn't see him either, so.
I'm not different these things.
Joe, Carol. Just so you guys know, the agendas that were provided out here, the paper copies, the numbers are all.
They're usually, it's usually the case.
That's why there's a little bit of confusion, just like.
All right, let's back up. I'm trying to, give me a second to find this online. So our sergeant's agreement would be 12. 12. Okay. Backing up, sorry. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2024 R34, authorizing the execution of a labor agreement with the sergeants of the Village of Roscoe Police Department.
So moved. Second.
Vote please.
Petty,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Okay, now. Item number 13. Backing up. May I have a resolution, may I have a motion to approve resolution 2024 R35, authorizing the purchase of materials for concrete and railing installations at the Roscoe Rockden Junior Indians Riverside Park Concession Building for an amount not to exceed 15,000.
We need to suspend the rules on any of these. Are they in a hurry for any of this?
Good point. Yes. Okay. Third backup. May I have a motion to suspend the rules on all three of these? As again, a matter of expediency.
So moved. Second.
Calling for the vote.
Babcock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And before I go on, I want to thank all of you for helping me keep on track. Making sure this, we get through all of this correctly. Okay, item 13, a motion to approve resolution 2024 R35 for improvements around the concession building at Riverside Park. Not to exceed $15,000. Okay, what has happened here is, if you've ever been down there, you notice that the concrete walk all around it was sagging, major trip hazards all around it. And the support of it in railroad ties was separating, so you had a 3 to 4 inch gap between the concrete and the railroad ties. And there was no railing on what they refer to as the front of the building, or what faces field, again, causing a problem. We also needed a handicap ramp on the side next to the parking lot, and its railing was also deficient. Now, what the Junior Indians were able to do is to get a kind parent who has willing to put a lot of sweat equity into this. And they are also, as your documents show, contributing $3,500 to the project. And since it is our park and we want everyone to be safe, and it's an extremely successful program, we're asking you to authorize the rest of the repairs. Concrete repairs will be about $7,500, the village share, and then the other 5 being the necessary railing to go all the way around. So we will finally have we will have eliminated some trip hazards and potential problems. Yeah. Questions? So that is before you. We have a motion and a second.
Sima,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Item number 14. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2024 R36 on purchase of materials to be used for the Hananiga High School construction trades class as part of the village's small business incubator project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, conversations about this. Bear with us here. The plan is to place 12 by 12 structures at Hodges Run. And the construction trades class will build those. And the tentative cost is about what, 12,000, 12 to 13,000 per.
All in.
Right, all in, all inclusive, and we need the authorization to purchase these materials. However, we do this formally. Mr. Wright has been successful in getting an angel donor. And so this will be offset, but if that falls through, we need the backup, shall we say. So we go through the formality of making sure that the kids here have the materials they need because they are committed. Their whole program this year, both semesters, is going to be the construction of these particular 12 by 12 units.
So we're looking at 72,000?
For materials, correct. Well,
Well,
60,000, 60.
60. 45 times 12.
So should we
Good
set-
job, Michael.
Should we set a not to exceed, so it's not a blank check?
These are,
Well, this is a
this
backup.
is, the resolution is for 60,000, not to exceed. It is not to exceed 60,000, that's the resolution.
Okay, I didn't see it in the.
Once we get, so this is for the first half of them, first chunk. Then we'll be coming in, we get the plans here, we've got the grant, complete grant writing, we get the full proposal coming through, get all the site work, all that. So that will all come to you, the big project of it will all come to this board to get the approval for, but this is just to start the actual structures right now, just so they can start their portion of it. The big amount of they are.
Because they are intending to begin, well, school, as you know, begins on the 15th, and they are planning the week of the 22nd, 23rd or something, start sawing and hammering.
How many buildings are like the new total with the grant?
Well,
There's 16 in your drawing, or the drawing.
Yeah.
So
That's, so I think it was, yeah,
The
14, I think,
for-
right?
for-
It says
for
four.
semester,
Yeah.
for a semester, if they are doing the whole, it was kind of confusing based on what they could do.
Yeah.
If they were going to frame them and just frame them and we store those frames flat, they could knock out all 14 frames by December. But if we have in place the concrete pads in October, then they will do just 4, because 4 will be moved to the concrete pads, they'll have a roof, and then they will be working on the interior. So
the school can do full
this,
for the whole year if we have concrete beds.
For each semester, so begin
Right.
now.
So
Oh,
we
no,
can do
right.
8 total.
Correct, yep,
Okay,
yep,
and then we're still looking to add additional, so we'll have to have our.
it'll be phased in. as we
Phased
go.
in.
Yep,
Gotcha.
and the grant notification or awards will come in October 22nd. But all of that is kind of unknown at this time.
you know, how fast these phases go will be based sort of on funding.
Right. I got you.
So it wouldn't be up and running till next year, no matter what.
No,
Correct.
Because we need to be looking at landscaping and that fence
Yep.
along the
All of
backside
that.
before we
Oh,
do any
right.
of this.
Right.
nope, yep,
Our concern right now is getting the materials to the school because they so kindly agreed to help us with this last year and they have organized, this is their project. They normally do Houses Habitat for Humanity, and they did not have one this year. So they were very grateful to have a project for their class, as well as being able to showcase what they do and advertise it in such a public place.
And then the next 3 years, we'll be doing Habitat houses. So we're sort of like wedging, trying to get their participation in sort of early on. As opposed to waiting until next year.
So we'll know by October if it's right.
By October 27th.
Maybe two different grants.
If grant, start looking at budgeting.
Yes.
So at least it's before the budget season.
Right.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments about this? So we have a motion and a second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Last item number 15, may I have a motion to approve resolution 2024 R37, approving a professional services agreement with Place Boundary for grant writing services related to the Illinois Deco Rebuild Downtown and Main Street Rise grant related to the village's Main Street Small Business Incubator Project.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Vote. Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes. Under questions and reports, I've asked staff members to give you an update on some issues that have come up or things that have continued. First, we'll start with our engineer, Mr. Box.
So really the update that I wanted to provide was on the residential streets program. As you guys know, we finished paving just a couple of weeks ago now. So we do have some final punch list tasks that need to be completed. The first of that is in the Hidden Creek subdivision, mainly where we do not have curb and gutter. We have some areas of shoulder, the road shoulder that is eroding. Mostly not in the areas where the lots adjacent to them are developed with homes and things like that. It's mainly the undeveloped lots. So we are seeking a price from a restoration contractor to repair those road shoulders. In a couple of areas where the rain has eroded them out, it's actually starting to compromise the roadway or getting close to compromising the roadway. So we want to get on that right away. So I actually have a meeting, should be Friday. I'm waiting on confirmation to meet the contractor out there, agree to measurements so that they can submit a price for that. Overall, you guys have obviously previously approved a change order. We're hoping that this dollar amount will fall within one of our other line items that we already have for road shoulders. It's not should not be an additional cost to the project. It's actually where we have eliminated the gravel shoulders. Instead, we want to do turf shoulders because that is actually the areas again of undeveloped lots. The turf is consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. So we're looking at that again, should have an update on that by the end of this week and ultimately get that work done hopefully next week. I am also waiting on a contractor to get back to me on the standing water at that is the intersection of, I believe it's Deer Crossing and I can't think of the other one. Yep, right, okay, right outside of your house. So still waiting on that answer. Again, we believe that a separate contractor can get that work done for a little bit cheaper, whether that's this year or next year. I just did not feel comfortable with the pricing that Rock Road gave us on our previous change order to move forward with that. So hoping to have an update on that soon. There's also actually Troy actually brought this up to me. We have an area where mainly on Big Stone Circle, which is one of the first roadways right off of the Rockton Road entrance, where there are some ripples in the pavement that you can feel with your vehicle when you're driving. It's not something that is very easily seen, but it is, I won't say it's an issue. We don't think it's going to compromise the pavement or anything like that. But it's something that I personally don't feel that the village should maybe necessarily accept. So I'm having Rock Road look into that, find out what the root cause is. There is a surface smoothness test that we can do that follows IDOT standards. I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but essentially you take a wheel, That's actually 16 feet long. And it's got a little piece of chalk in the center, and you run it over these bumps. And if you set it to a certain deflection rate, which is 1/4 inch, and if it nicks that, then they have to come back and mill the pavement up and actually pave a smooth roadway again. Now, that's something that we're going to see. Obviously, if it passes that test or does not pass that test, we'll have to consider that. In other instances, what I've seen is where the contractor will give a credit because the roadway is not smooth per se. So I'm not exactly sure where that's going to land, but we're going to have the contractor run a test on that and hopefully provide you with an update. I don't like to have patches in a brand new roadway, obviously, but I'd rather have a smooth and comfortable roadway. I've actually already had a resident complain about it, so I don't want that to continue. So we're paying for smooth roads. I want to get to smooth roads. And then finally, one of the last things, and some of the residents may have already reached out to some of you. I know that they've been active in the HOA. We have areas in the Hidden Creek and Promontory subdivision where we have the concrete curb has little outlets. Mainly they lead into ditch areas and ultimately into drainage easements that go onto private property and ultimately lead to the ultimate receiving waters, creeks and things like that. We have agreed as a staff that Public Works, because these have been long neglected, because they are because they are in the right of way adjacent to residential homes and mostly within easements. The responsibility of cleaning these out actually falls on the homeowners, the private property owners where the easement is recorded, and they've been neglected for years and years. So what we're seeing now in a few of these areas, not everywhere, but there has been a buildup of sediment and debris that is preventing the water from draining off of the curb and off of the roadway, and it is leading to water standing on the roadway. Because this is I won't say it's a big project, but because a lot of homeowners don't really know what to do and how to maintain them. Public Works has offered to clean those, I'm going to call them little gutter pans, essentially clean those out to allow the water to continue to free flow. And the HOA president, Keith Liston, has reached out to me. He wants to be there with some of the other representatives so that they can get educated on how to maintain these and then take that maintenance responsibility moving forward. So we're going to help them out. We don't have an exact time frame. It's all dependent on how free Troy's guys can get. Obviously, they're very busy right now. But it will be something done before the end of the year. So that will be one of the last tasks. It's not going to be the contractor's responsibility. We are taking that responsibility and hopefully transferring that over back to the property owners as it should.
How many are there?
I don't have a count right now. It's quite a few. Pretty much any low spot on any of those roads, which is a very hilly subdivision, if you guys know, any of those low spots are more than likely, mainly in the Promontory Ridge subdivision, because that is primarily all curb and gutter. But there are a few areas in the Hidden Creek subdivision as well. If I had to guess, it's definitely north of a dozen. So I don't see this being, it's not going to be a lot of work. Again, it's just loose sediment and debris that's built up over time. Maybe some weeds have grown in that makes it a little bit difficult, but I anticipate this being, some guys with some shovels scraping some stuff out and hauling it away.
Something that can get done in like one day. They're gonna take like.
Yeah, probably more than likely, especially if we have multiple guys on it. Yeah, I mean, I imagine, one section takes maybe 15 minutes. So I don't.
We have the HOA and some of the residents out there as well, I think so.
Yep, and Keith, the HOA president, has been in contact with me. He's routinely asking for updates. He's staying involved. We're providing him with updates. So he has said that he and other residents will be there to learn, essentially. So that's good. We're getting people involved. That hopefully I want to lead that into a discussion on drainage easements as a whole. A lot of people don't really know about these, especially a lot of residents. Some of the residents aren't even aware when they have drainage easements on their property. If you do not know, a drainage easement is just like a utility easement or anything else on the property, where it's still the homeowner's property, but it's a recorded easement where somebody has the right to still go on that area and maintain. And utility easements, you can lay, storm sewer, conduit for telecommunications, things like that, any type of utilities. I'm speaking on drainage easements where generally it is either storm sewer pipe that is running through a backyard, taking it again to an ultimate receiving area, or it's just an open ditch type system. So not like the traditional ditches that you see in front of a house. Those are usually located in the right of way, which is our property. These are private drainage easements on private property. So it becomes an issue mainly when we're actually receiving permit applications for fences and accessory structures like sheds. Per the plat provisions, when these subdivisions are first created, no permanent structures are supposed to be placed within these drainage easement areas. The main reason, as you know, it's supposed to be for traveling water, and as soon as you put a structure in, that blocks the flow of water, and it can potentially, in a worst case scenario, dam up and cause flooding upstream onto people's properties, into their, garages, houses, and things like that. We have seen an uptick in permits recently where homeowners are requesting, I think just last week we had at least 3 or 4, where there are fences that have already been constructed in easements, more than likely prior to when we required fence permits to be submitted. And we have had some applicants reach out and say, I just want to extend my fence to butt into my neighbor's fence that's already in this easement area. Can I do this? Unfortunately, we have to say no. And that's what I wanted to let you guys know, is that we're telling these residents that they cannot, because it does open up the village to liability if we're approving permits and somebody's house ends up flooding because we get a large rain event or something like that that floods somebody's property if they get dammed up. Again, the maintenance responsibility, you might think it's fair, you might think it's not. The maintenance responsibility of these areas does fall on the homeowner who the easements, whose property the easement is recorded on. Now, that gets to be dicey sometimes. It's really up to the village to decide when is it just routine maintenance, mowing and clearing topsoil and things like that. Or are we dealing with sinkholes and, something that rises above what a homeowner would typically have to do to maintain that area? We haven't had a lot of issues with maintenance over the years, but it has come up a few times. So we know that sometimes residents reach out to you guys and want to talk about this. So I wanted to take this time to kind of let you know, if you didn't already, that these easement areas are the homeowner's responsibility to maintain. Again, that can be dicey subject, but then also with the structures and the fences, and let you know that staff, per the plat that was recorded at the beginning of all these subdivisions being created, they are not allowed to be there. So we do not have the authority, nor should we be approving these fences and structures to be in these areas. Generally, we don't get much pushback. Most people understand when you explain what can happen if you place one within an easement. They say, oh yeah, I don't want my property flooding either. Don't want to create issues for others. Some people just flat out don't understand or don't want to follow those rules. So wanted to let you guys know that we have had an uptick in permits where these are being asked to be placed. Generally, we're getting compliance and we're not having anybody push back much, but just in case people do reach out, we wanted to let you guys know what they are and why we're moving this way.
Do we have any liability for the fences that are existing that way? I know.
No, we don't, first of all, but we issued fence permits, I think, and one, Chicory is the big one.
Well, this is
right? The big
before we
background check.
required permits.
So some of them were required and some of them we were issuing, but no, for issuing or not issuing, the village is
Falls on that way. Something was like.
per their,
There's no
and,
recorded
well,
permit.
well, there it is, per their agreement with the developer, the village, the world, right? That's what these ones are. They're not supposed to have those there. And if they do cause damage, if they do cause flooding, it's on that homeowner. So it's their risk by putting it there.
Right.
So that's sort of where we're at.
I just to make sure we weren't liable.
But we have stopped issuing permits for, the big one we see is actually utility easements. We've stopped issuing permits for that without a recorded agreement from the homeowner. Acknowledging for the future that, yes, you are building a utility easement, different than a drainage easement, because you don't have that water flow. But again, we've had people who are sort of surprised sometimes, oh, either the village, not usually the village, but usually comment or the utility companies coming through, knocking down the fence or moving the fence, and then, all right, fix it themselves, right? Because they built in a location where they should have known they're not supposed to be building. So before we issue those permits, we do have them sign an agreement, record the property, so hopefully they know in the future buyers sort of extra aware of that fact.
And then really the last thing I wanted to address, just as far as the policy and how we address the fences that have existed before we required permits. We don't go back and generally issue notices of violation because again, a lot of homeowners didn't even know or weren't required to get a permit. But what we do is when homeowners are getting new permits to replace the fence, change the footprint, anything like that, we do ask them to come into compliance with the current code and make sure that they're following all the rules and regulations. But it is not our prerogative to go back and find a bunch of people for things that they may or may not have known. We just try to get better moving forward and get compliance moving forward.
These new ones, are you documenting these addresses so that we can make sure they're not just putting the fences in without getting permission?
Well, so we have a record of all the applicants that do ask, apply for a permit. And we keep all of our correspondence we keep all of those records, emails where we state, no, it's not allowed, please resubmit. And then ultimately they have to submit a site plan with their permit showing exactly where they're placing that fence. So we do have records that if we, for some reason in the future, and this is how we normally see it, is somebody will come in for maybe a pool permit. And we say, oh, we see that you have a fence and that was never previously permitted. It's in a drainage easement. Can you please fix that? So that's how we generally see it, is just from honestly WinGIS and Google Maps when we're doing our planning things. But sometimes it's, public works going out and saying, hey, I see somebody building a fence. Do they have a permit? We'll check it that way. Code enforcement, same thing.
That's what, with these new ones, if you made a list, then code enforcement could just go around occasionally
You check.
and make sure that, especially the ones that give you a lot of pushback.
Yep.
Are the people that are just gonna go, well, my neighbor did it, I'm just gonna go
Well,
do
even if
it.
the applicants coming in, are they building? Anyway, I got you.
Yeah, they did where they just
Yeah, no.
tell Bob to go put the rest of the fence in. We should be keeping an eye on those so that we're not causing issues.
Can I ask a question? Because I have one of those properties that has,
Yep.
loses half the
Okay.
year to the easement. But you just said that the property owner would be responsible if it's a flood, right? Water, but what happens to the property owner like myself who keeps those areas clean? And we have a flood like we did a year ago, election day, right? And everyone that was at the top never cleaned out their section and it all flows down to myself.
Yep.
And it blocks and then everything backs up to flood everyone else's house. Who's liable?
It's
So
a civil matter between all you and your neighbors, yep.
fortunately, but I mean, generally, I would think that if it's the liability or responsibility of the people who have constructed those fences in that area when it shouldn't be. But yeah, it's something that the village doesn't get involved with, again, because these are easements, not right of way. So it's all on private property. Again, it may or may not be fair in your book, but it allows these utility easements, it grants them the right to access the property anytime. It grants the village the right at any time to access that property, lay utilities, and this, in drainage easements, it allows us to enter the property and just do routine inspections to make sure things are being upkept. So when we need to go out and look at fences and things like that. But because it is private property, we generally don't get involved.
But technically then though, it would be a code enforcement if there's like garbage and all that
Blocking.
debris blocking,
Yep,
right?
and that's property maintenance.
We've done that in the past. We've had, in the past, had some floods up there. We've seen that. We've had neighbors call, like, hey, this is happening, and we'll go out and look and okay, then we'll issue those and get involved. We generally tend not to get into back at people's properties or into their
Right.
yards.
Just a thought to think about, how would we go about educating people about that they need to take care of their culvert pipes and stuff like that, because.
So we've talked about this at staff level, and I think what we're gonna do is some social media postings
Yeah.
and actually,
This would be a good start. I mean, with this one with Promontory and Hidden Creek over there, it'll be sort of a good start
start.
of here, this is what needs to be done and taking pictures of that.
And ultimately, what I'm gonna do is on the webpage,
Website.
I'm actually going to create probably some sort of educational, blog or something like that, explaining what a drainage easement is, what a utility easement is, as just a general public knowledge that they can always access, and we can tell them, hey, if you got questions, see this.
Yeah, I just know it's a village-wide problem, because.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know.
Ross Point reach out to me, Chicory Ridge,
So we're working on fixing that.
subdivisions aren't that old, but it's already a problem, So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
So a little backstory, on Friday evening, we had a young adult riding a longboard on Leanna Drive. And they were stated that a vehicle came at them very quickly and they had to veer to avoid it, in which case they had like some kind of a pothole or a hole that was in the roadway and they were injured. So it had come to us as far as concern about speeding on Leanna and Lismore as it has in the past. So I pulled some numbers over the last 4 years where we have had our speed trailers out at least once a year. The last time we had it out was actually this year, July 3rd through July 8th. Just to give a little bit more information on these numbers though, is actually this first one in 24 that's at the top. We actually had a gentleman that was mowing his lawn on a riding lawnmower. And while riding his lawnmower, he stopped one of the sergeants that it was, the numbers on the board were actually being skewed very high. For some reason, it was picking up his tractor and increasing the numbers like off the charts. Also, this does not include any emergency vehicles, whether it's squad cars or ambulances going down those roadways. And then we also had, yeah, I mean, so the first one you're looking at started on 7/3 of 24 and went through 7/8 of 24. And there was a total number of vehicles of 1,072 vehicles that were on this. And this is the 10,200 block of Lismore, northbound lanes is where this was picking up traffic. What happens is, as vehicles come down the roadway, the way that the radar works is there's a wide beam that shoots out and it just picks up moving objects and bounces it back to the machine. Obviously, no one's at that machine to indicate whether or not it is completely accurate. However, when we put that machine out, we do calibrate it with tuning forks, make sure it's working correctly and it's tuned into the exact speed based upon those. So the date's 7/3 through 7/8 of this year, 1,072 vehicles. The average speed on Lismore going northbound was 25 miles per hour. The 85th percentile, which I know engineering looks at,
Generally used by most traffic engineers.
is 31 miles per hour. And some of those numbers may be skewed because of the high numbers that it was getting out of there, like the 80s, because of the tractor. On the second page is Lismore Road northbound, and this was 8/26 of 23 through 8/30 of 23. And the average speed at that time was 24 miles per hour. And the 85th percentile was 30 miles per hour. And total number of vehicles was almost 2,000 vehicles during that time. On the next sheet was 2022. This was out from 7/26 to 8/5 with nearly 5,000 vehicles recorded. And the average speed was 24 miles per hour with 85th percentile at 31 miles per hour. That was at Lismore and Elderon Way northbound. I'm sorry.
Do you think this one's skewed too, this 100?
I mean, all of them are skewed a little bit. I mean, we were also talking that, it has also been a known fact that once you put these big boards out and you get the big numbers up, that sometimes late at night or some other time, like people have a tendency to raise those numbers also. And all these are going to be skewed. And if they're skewed, they're only skewed to the high numbers. The way that the radar operates, we've never seen anything go on a low side. It's always skewed like double. Sometimes we've had vehicles, even when we're using handhelds out on the roadway, like double the speeds and stuff that they have given off. It's not that they're not working correctly or inaccurate. It's just how that beam shoots out and collects the data and how it reflects, and it depends on what kind of the reflection is. And there's a lot of different things that are involved with that. That's why you can't really use the board as a way of writing citations, because you have to actually witness it, see the vehicle speeding. When our officers get qualified in speed recognition, they have to be out and within a 5 mile per hour, have to say what that speed is, and they have to be within 5 miles per hour in order to be certified after so many vehicles that they witness. So they'll look at it, say what it is, look at it with the radar gun, they have to be within 5 miles per hour, so many times accurate in order to be certified in radar. So all these, yes, are going to be, this one was at Lismore and Elderon with northbound traffic. The very last one that I did was 2021. This was at Leanna and Elberon Way with northbound traffic with an average speed of 24 miles per hour with a fifth percentile of 30 miles per hour, or I'm sorry, 31 miles per hour. And that was almost, well, a little over 5,500 cars recorded on that roadway. I talked to engineer Brandon and asked him to, put anything on the engineering side, because I know whether it's posting signs or put something on the roadway, we look at the engineering department to look at studies in order to guide us to where,
And I don't-
if there's something that needs to be done in order to correct this issue. We do all the time, we do directed patrols out there. We've been out there the last couple of weeks quite a bit because of complaints of construction vehicles over the summer. So we have been out there quite a bit on directed patrols, even for construction vehicles, in which they'll run radar out there and everything as well. So, but I'll turn it over to Engineer Brandon.
And so obviously talking about stop signs, we get that request a lot where residents want us to install a stop sign to help with traffic control. We use engineering manuals to decide when stop signs are warranted. It's actually based on an engineering study. And those studies usually are based on traffic data. That is traffic speeds, the amount of traffic, and crash history. Usually you have to have a certain number of crashes within a certain time frame. You look at, is it a major road versus a minor road? Generally, the rule of thumb is you want to stop the least amount of traffic as possible. I know that seems backwards, doesn't seem right. Generally, you think if somebody sees a stop sign, they're going to stop. But what that does is it actually creates more conflict points at an intersection. And generally what we like to do is use what we call a yield and let traffic kind of free flow on your main roads. And then you have your side road yield. That generally tends to be a safer solution than installing a stop sign. I don't know why. That's what the data suggests. I understand that, data isn't always perfect. Things on paper aren't always perfect. But it's just something to think about when considering placing stop signs in any subdivisions that I think you guys have all driven through Chicory Ridge, and it's almost to the point where it seems like there's too many stop signs because you're stopping every other roadway. Most of those, I'm not sure I think engineering studies probably were done. I know I've seen at least a few in the Chicory Ridge subdivision that have done from past engineers. But anytime a resident asks us, we do an engineering warrant analysis, and more times than not, they are not warranted. So we elect not to put them up unless the police chief or the council or the board feels otherwise. But there are other things that we look into. That is making sure that site distances are clear. That's a big one. So especially a lot of people like to put landscaping in their yards. They want trees out on their corners, and that blocks the view of traffic. And it might not seem like people will, that's not going to lead to somebody stopping just because they can't see, but clearing those clear sight triangles does help. There's other things that you can do, traffic calming studies where we look at things like speed bumps in residential neighborhoods. My recommendation, it's a snowplow nightmare. It's a hazard for kids and children riding bikes and things like that. So there are options that you can look into before doing stop signs. That's just essentially what we wanted to let you know. And then also let you know that all of our decisions are based on data and engineering studies, and generally in residential neighborhoods, low traveled roads with little crash history, those stop signs are not warranted. So just something to be cautious about and something to think about.
Just that as well. I mean, this is data like from an actual commission giving us the data. That's slightly skewed higher though. However, I know when we teach radar calibration and detecting speeding, one of the things we also teach along with that is sight deception. Hills, crest of hills, curves, stuff like that, always makes a vehicle appear to be going faster than it actually would be if it was on a straightaway. I mean, do you concur with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Brandon, I got a question. So on Main Street, my neighbor, his tree blocks the view, so even backing out, you can't see the cars coming. Can I just go over there and trim it for him, or?
I wouldn't recommend going onto somebody's private property, but that's absolutely something that we.
I mean, isn't that the easement though?
So,
The easement?
If it's in the right of way, absolutely, and we've done that
I mean, from
before.
the sidewalk to the road,
Yep.
That's easement, right?
Correct.
That's not their
And the
property.
rule of thumb generally, now it's all based on the speed of the road. There's a chart that you use based on the design speed of the roadway. I think generally a 30-mile-an-hour 2-lane road, you have to have a clear distance for, it's north of 300 feet, I believe.
This is right on Main Street.
And those height, now that the height is 3.5 feet. So that is what engineering studies say the average height of a driver is while sitting in their car. So anything below 3.5 feet is allowed to remain. Anything above 3.5 feet within, again, that's that clear sight triangle.
But this is on Main Street. It's between the road and the sidewalk. There's a tree.
So if that's,
There's a tree right there. And you back out, you can't see cars coming from the village hall. You can't see the cars coming. So you almost gotta get out into traffic before you see it. So who's responsible for notifying that person? I just go over and tell them to chop it down or get out?
You can do that, or you can notify us,
Yeah.
it happens often, not often, but times, we get residents to tell us that, we'll go out, look at the site distances, look at the angles, and if it's warranted, we'll either have to cut it down or have a neighbor trim it, or we'll have to do it ourselves, but I wouldn't recommend that you do it yourself.
Well, I do it at night.
Oh, sure, yes, at night, no moon, but,
No.
but other than that, yeah, just.
yeah, please, if you guys ever see these areas, please let us know. Send us an email and we will absolutely look into it and we'll work with those property owners to get those things done. If it's on the right of way, that might fall on our responsibility. It just depends on, did the homeowner plant the tree? Was it there before? Those are some little nuances that we have to work through, but generally we get the homeowners to help us out and to trim that. They want everybody to be safe just like we do. So yeah, if you see them, please report them, let us know and we'll go take a look.
Also, as part of this conversation regarding safety in our neighborhoods, Brandon has agreed to, or had the great idea, to put together a blog or whatever you want to call it on our website, kind of a question and answer. How do we maintain safety in our neighborhood? And why stop signs are not always the answer, why speed bumps are not always the answer. However, if you do have a concern or question, this is how you reach out. So we want to encourage the communication, but recognize the fact that one mishap, as unfortunate as it is, does not mean we need a review or a renovation of how we regulate traffic throughout all of our subdivisions. Because state regulations are what, 30 miles an hour in residential areas, but we have 25 posted. So we are even under what could literally be the maximum. I'm not advocating we do that, we go that, that's not what I meant. But what might seem like a simple answer to, oh, we can slow everybody down, we really can't. It all comes down to the fact that you're not going to stop idiot drivers. We can do what we can to try to make everything safe and to answer our residents' concerns. But accidents, unfortunately, will
Can
happen.
I state something? I think that if you look at these, people that are from outside the neighborhood driving down these streets, these are your neighbors,
That's
right?
right.
So that's where it starts, communication with the neighbors. I know we have Promontory, we have the same thing. It comes down that street, people open it up there. And a lot of thanks to the HOA, but we have the communication processes where we say, hey, this is not an UPS driver or somebody outside. It's somebody, they're people in our subdivision. A lot of times we know who they are, right? And we can go knock on their door and say, hey, listen, man, this is, even you sometimes say, well, play over the speed limit here. You have something at home, I'm rushing back to get it. And I think the biggest thing is really communication within the neighborhoods. It's easy to say, difficult to implement, but having signs, having, things, we put out signs occasionally, people live here, that type of thing. Put it in our HOA bulletin that knows people. We've actually knocked on doors and told people. So I think that's something that maybe we could create awareness to as well. I think that's why I like having like that sense of community HOA. A lot of people don't like it, but in this case, it really is helpful. Because it's not even people coming outside, it's us, where the people are, where the problem is.
How many neighborhoods do we have that have two streets that are a mile long without a stop sign?
My subdivision has only a stop sign at Policeman Road.
Is it a mile long?
Take the whole loop, there's no other stop sign.
There's
It's over
probably
a
quite
mile.
a few. I don't know about a mile, but definitely long stretches.
Both those are over a mile long without a stop. Chicory Ridgeway only has one right in the middle of it.
Meadow Sweet, I think, is where there's one, Chicker Ridgeway and Meadow Sweet, or I'm sorry, Angelica. Yep,
And the second stretch is even.
Marilot, there's a couple there, but some of the other, I guess, intersections throughout they have. And again, generally what you like to see or what you would see in a traditional neighborhood is actually yield signs on some of those lower, the side roads essentially, and then it's uncontrolled for the main road. And I know that seems very unsafe, but it actually had, whether you agree with it or not, the data suggests that installing stop signs generally leads to more actual crashes. So
What does a stop sign cost?
I know the poles. that we put on our-
59.50 on Granger.
The poles, we put them on our $129 a piece.
106 from Granger.
The village.
Nuts are $4 and the washers are $3.69, just in case you're
It's
curious.
it's a kid.
So total, how much is a stop sign cost?
Probably like 200.
Is there anything with the engineering part of, because looking at the 85th percentile, it's 5 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour over on every one. Is there any benefit to lowering it 5 miles an hour since everybody likes to do 5 miles? an hour?
so unfortunately, no, it's actually, so James Wisconsin did a study on this.
Yeah.
And, 94, they ended up, because the state of Wisconsin is 25 miles per hour. For their minimum speed in the subdivision, it's otherwise posted. Ours is 30 in the state of Illinois, we have ours posted for 25. City of Janesville in a section did a study that they had speeding as all the time complaints. So they ended up taking that area and raising it to what people were driving at. And they had found speed did not change. Stayed the same, even though they increased the speed limit, the speed stayed the same. So the theory behind that is basically that people will drive when they feel the safest as far as time of day, weather, roadway conditions. Yeah, there's a lot of factors, and actually, so when you're designing a roadway and you're coming up with a designated speed, your design speed that you use for all of your, determining your curve lengths and your distances and things like that is based on 5 miles an hour less than what the posted speed is. Because you're accounting for people more than likely, you want to design it to be. I'm sorry, I have that backwards, other way around. But you want people to feel more safe driving at actually a higher speed. Because, again, people speed, they're gonna drive what they feel comfortable on curves and things like that. When you get up on those speeds, a lot of people are gonna feel like they don't have control over their vehicle, especially when it's raining, it's low light, there's hills, there's curves, things like that. So, and we're not saying people don't speed, don't get me wrong. It's an issue everywhere in every jurisdiction, every subdivision. Only so much law enforcement can sit in subdivisions throughout the village at a time and still respond to calls and everything else. So, we understand we're not saying there's not a speed.
Sure, anyway.
And they do have those ones that are just ridiculous.
Can we get like form letters and send them out to residents on there and just have something in our disposal for things like this when it happens occasionally to blast out to every resident on there. It's coming up at a village board meeting. This is what's happened. These are concerns. And we should have a form letter for, not just for that, but we could just blast it out when these issues come up. And, fill in the specifics or whatever we want to say, because that's what we're doing with the HOA. We send it out on Facebook, we send it out on our, on our monthly newsletters, our quarterly newsletters and stuff like that. And it does make a difference. You have an immediate response and then it goes back to whatever, but.
So we have a template for this that Brendan's gonna edit right now and adjust, and we will put it out on social media. And you can, if you want us to mail it to you, I suppose you can tell us to do that.
Well, I'm
But
just
at least
thinking-
social media, we do have one that's pretty well.
There's a lot, I just think if you get something in the mail
Yeah.
from the village on all these streets, all these people on here. I know it's gonna cost us some money to send it out, but I think it's helpful.
So Chief, what about the speed limit signs that are digital that flash? I know you said the big board, obviously someone sees that and they think, oh, cool, let's see if I do 100, but what about the ones where you set it and then it says your speed and they can flash, they can go different colors?
So our new one that we just bought this year on this budget does actually have flashing lights on it. All of our, actually, our two older ones are completely down now. I've had them for a long time. They're a little bit of the older model. So this one does actually start flashing to a speed above, I believe, and it will. We do have a stationary one. We're talking with Public Works about putting it up. It's just a stationary sign. We're looking at it right from that on Main Street.
Like regular speed limit signs, they're 29 by 23. With the solar cell, yeah.
I think we have one on Second Street, if I'm not mistaken.
And we have one, I would believe, has flashing lights that we.
$4,600.
How much?
They're $4,600, but
My Granger?
Yeah.
yeah, it would help.
The one we bought for Chicory lasted a year for what, same price.
Well, just so we know, this isn't just subdivisions. They take off out of Main Street over here, like it's a racetrack, like it's a green light. They
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
and they take off and they just hammer it all the way up the hill. As fast as they can go, they especially the loud exhaust, they stop and they just heading out of town, they just hammer. Well, yeah, coming in, they gotta slow down a little bit. but
Sorry.
Going that way, yeah.
Just kidding.
Um,
$1,200 for 6 signs.
1,200 for 6.
Stop sign.
Sorry, stop. I'm like,
No.
No.
that's the 45.
Well, if we, let's give our communication system an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Putting the information out, fine tuning how other ways we might get the message out, whether it be a mailing or using our social media, the increased presence, as well as the radar. We're always going to have this, unfortunately, we can't dig stupid.
I think we
if
should
you-
just put on their smile, you're on candy camera, take a picture, thank you for your donation of $50. And then capture the license plate, build their account, and then look at the revenue we create.
Well, we all adjust our, I can say we are projecting, do you not adjust how you drive based on the road surface? Don't you find when it's a nice, smooth straightaway, you're inclined to go a little faster? Maybe we shouldn't repair our roads simply. Be facetious, be facetious. I'm just wondering, yes, you know, leave the bumps on Main Street, does that really slow people down?
I think from a staff perspective, though, I like Mike's idea that if someone calls and says, hey, someone's speeding on my road, which a lot of times they'll call here instead of the police department. Then she has a form letter, she just takes their name and address, says, okay, we'll let someone know, still report it to Sam or whomever. But then they get a letter with a trifold pamphlet that just says, here's the data, and here's why we won't be putting a stop sign in your yard. I mean, the number of calls we get a year probably seems like a lot, but that might help if they then take it, and share it with their neighbor, and then maybe their neighbor comes down and they want their own copy, and then we have some out front where people, can take that, but it's an acknowledgement that we've heard you, and here is our response. I think it's something Jenna could knock out very quickly.
I also think empowering the residents is very powerful, right? And when you have these things that come up, allowing them to share this with their neighbors, getting letters, knowing that the neighborhood is, because the next step would be, to me, rather than randomly putting up a stop sign, would be to have the people who live on that street determine if they want one, because they're the ones that are gonna be using it, and they're the ones that are gonna be having to stop on it, right? I mean, if you have, well, then maybe that's something we look at. If you have, X amount of folks that come in there and that's the way they want it, I think that would be, let the people speak,
I
but.
think as long as it meets the engineering study for it, to have it warranted, and that's set by statute, set by the, and
Is warranted.
Yeah.
It's my understanding, if we put up a stop sign that is not warranted and there is an accident there, people mount lawsuits
we
claiming.
we lose some of our protection. If we're not doing.
because the data doesn't support it. So we are agreed, we're going to have a information blitz in a multitude of ways and see where that goes, and we'll constantly revisit this, because it will always happen. Okay, thank you. Troy, was there any update on anything that you wish to share with the board?
Playgrounds, last week, they started on Monday, got done on Wednesday. With the safety mulch that we agreed they blowed in. Blown in on all the playgrounds. They look great and saw some kids playing out over at the Swanson one, and they look happy.
Okay, that's good. And the plantings at Porter Park look great, so drive by, take a look. Just gotta work real hard keeping all those things alive. And water receding at Riverside.
Yep, it's finally going down. We're trying to bowl farther and farther each day.
So they're going to be able to play, you think, the 17th, barring any other monsoons?
Hopefully they get their field goals in. 'Cause every time they pump out the holes, obviously, it's so saturated, the water fills back up. In the holes.
Excuse me a minute, Sue. Do you want to tell the board of your new employee?
Oh, yeah, Anthony Ford. We, 2 weeks ago, he started. We're trying to create a position for, he'll be within the buildings. Working with all the buildings is the main thing, then he'll come help in the streets. He's been at Rockford, some other municipalities. He came from Rockford, or I'm sorry, Freeport. He was one of the streets foremen over there, very knowledgeable, knows equipment. Plowed for the state before that for part-time for like 15 years. He knows how to plow. Has his class A. And yeah, we're teaching him and looking forward to letting him go on his own, working with the new software program for our work orders. It'll be great.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Sue?
The shelter houses down at Riverside, what's the status of them? Weren't they going to be inspected by Seth?
Seth was too expensive, so we're not doing that. Instead, we're going to have the roofing company eyeball it, take a look, and the volunteer roofing company. So Joe has reached out to Martin Exterior, since their name is all over the place,
To roof it, yeah.
to roof it. So if
So they're going to determine if
They'll
they're.
see if it's structural. No, I mean, it's,
If
if it was a full building, we would be more concerned.
Realistically,
It's not-
having a structural engineer
Little
report for a
report.
pavilion is a little overboard, but obviously we wanted to provide you with a proposal, but it's not something that we. Seth as a licensure in our team, you know, if they're gonna put their name on something as a professional, they want a stamp sealed report, and that is costly, so. Seeking other options.
And is staff, when they're mowing, are they still wearing their face masks?
I told them to. When they're supplied with them and they were told to.
And the face masks are for what? I'm just,
Mold.
The dust and
Oh.
a lot of it's dust. It's not really, it's just sediment. It's on the grass, but it's dust and there could be possible mold or what was ever in the river left on the grass when it went.
Are we too late for Class D patching?
No, our intention is to have that actually hopefully as a committee of the whole item on the next meeting.
Where are we on the parking lot over here?
Thank you.
Food court, parking lot, what the hell's
Bridget.
little birdie.
Little birdie.
It is the public space. We should have the design.
Yep, the
next
plans
week.
will, yeah, we should be putting it on for bids, for approval for bid at the next board meeting.
Do we think we're gonna have something paved this year yet?
I think so, yeah, it sounds like it, yeah, yeah.
I'm going to stamp my feet and throw a temper tantrum. It's
Absolutely
supposed to be,
meant,
yes,
but
yeah, meant
yeah, we
by
should-
October.
Yeah, we should have
It's a nice wheat
Yes.
field right now.
Yes.
And then what
Yeah,
can we
well,
do about
well,
the
well,
railroad track on Roscoe Road? Goes to Old
Sprague.
Road. It's awful. I mean, you gotta slow down to 5 miles an hour to cross.
Talk to John Guevara.
So what I can do, since Roscoe Road is a Winnebago County roadway. Honestly, what I would recommend is I can go out, take some pictures, show what the condition is. Send that over to the county, and formally, I guess, request that the county reaches out to the railroad to complete those improvements.
The railroad is responsible for on both sides. How far?
Correct. I think it varies by the number of tracks. I'm not sure the exact distance. Generally, I would say estimating it's 10 to 15 feet on each side of the tracks. Usually there's a joint that you'll actually see in the pavement where in an upgraded railroad crossing, actually, a lot of times they will do either concrete or asphalt, but generally you can see a difference in types of pavement between what the railroad has done and what the road, the adjacent roadway ties into. Generally, the railroad pavement is much older, much more deteriorated, meeting a newer, nicer roadway.
There's no way around that to speed it up and we can't go up.
It's the railroad and they.
Yeah, I've dealt with rail, like several different projects before, and it's gonna be the county, it'll be the state, it's gonna be, yeah, yep. It's just getting as hold as many people in town as possible, yeah.
This was brought to my attention a few months ago. I sit on the Public Works Committee. So I reached out to our engineer, Carlos Molina over there, runs Public Works, to, figure out what the timeline was. We're looking at, the study I think is already done. We funded the engineering for the whole project. The plan is to work jointly with the rail line to improve that. But we did put in a request for them to do maintenance on it as soon as possible. And that was when, both brought it to my attention. I said, is there any way we can speed this up? We can ask them. They don't have to do it, but like, hey, there's a significant damage being done over here. Let's just at least take a look at it, and hopefully they decide to do it sooner rather than later. We go from there.
Thank you.
Federal organization. Unfortunately, they trump us and squeaky wheel. That's the way to get things done with them.
I think it's a midnight project to go out there, Troy, with your.
That's a liability insurance to do these projects is 6 figures.
I mean, it's just terrible. It's like, it's been there that bad for years.
It's pretty.
You have to turn on the flashers, slow down because traffic behind you doesn't, maybe not really.
Well, maybe what we'll do to supplement the county requesting, maybe we can just send in our own request since we're the village. So I can absolutely do that, send an email, so.
Do we have any information for the Chicory Ridge? Or light poles?
The price the board wants to us to go forward with that, we can certainly have a discussion.
Like to see what it's gonna cost at least. Yeah.
Do you want to see them? Where would you like to see them? Like that's so where should I don't like you guys already have this, but where do you want us to look for those? Yeah.
It was slated one would be within the parking lot. For the park, one at the front entrance and one at the rear entrance. Originally budgeted for it.
Discussion we're gonna have to do.
For another time. So, anything else? Right, shall we go on to? We have no, public comment here.
I have a public comment if you like.
Certainly. State name.
Yeah, Michael McGinnis, Harlem Township. No, but an editor of Rockton Roscoe News. And I want to say that we want to help any way we can with communication, because I'm right now, transcribing what you're saying. But yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to, anything you want us to publish, anything you want us to quote as far as traffic issues, drainage issues. We'd like to talk to our readers about that. And I didn't realize how many we had. I just recently got some new statistics where we got 40,000 people each month. Unique people are reading Rockton Roscoe News, 80,000 views per month. Gene Seegers wrote an article about Main Street, 5,000 people read it. We've got 6.6 thousand followers on Facebook. We make a comment and next door, and oftentimes 1,000 people see that. And we say point to something else. So I'm looking forward to being able to point to to your blog and that sort of thing. But anything we can do, I think, we call ourselves the first local news specifically for Rockton and Roscoe and South Beloit since 1835. And we want to, after 3 years, we're still kind of working on how to work together. But I suggest one thing is that I'm sitting around late at night trying to come up with something to say sometimes. And I wouldn't mind at all if you just said, here, we'll tell you what to say. I'm looking forward to getting more of that. So anything we can do, let me know.
Well, congratulations on growing your readership. So I remember when you first started.
I think that would be a good solution
job.
for
Yeah,
this,
very good.
for this speeding and stuff like that. Maybe you have a section called the speeding zone or something on your paper. But because there's a lot of people that aren't on Facebook. And that's us, the mailing and those types of things. But the more we can get these things out, the better.
Look at that too. We got.
Yeah, once we finalize it and we're ready to post on the website, we'll be sure to share that with you.
Thank you. No need for an executive session tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
So.
All in favor?
Bye.
On break before committee of the whole, or do you want to just go into it?
Let's go.